while we're waiting for a few more people to jump on, I've got a few things I want to show you. And what did I just do? Oh, here's the one. So I got this piece of Happy Mail. This is from Kate Spackman, and she is the Demonstrator Development Manager for our region. A really sweet, wonderful woman who just took on that role, just a few months ago, but she sent me this congratulations card for reaching my $400,000 career sales last month. So it's always nice to be recognized in that way. Here's a little craft I just whipped up today. Honestly, whipped up. It was so fast. I just used some Garden Green Designer Series paper with my heart punch and created this shamrock decoration. And believe it or not, this frame came from the dollar store. It had like a tropical motif in it. And I just bought it for the $1.25 because I knew I would cover over that tropical bit and make something on my own. So I really was buying it for the frame. But there are photos on my blog today for this, stampinpiece.com. And the photos are basically a step-by-step visual of how I made that. So if you're interested, please take a look at that on stampinpiece.com. Also, I will throw this out that throughout this reminder that my most recent class to go registration is open for the flowering not flowering fields. We've been using that so much lately. The flowering rain boots. Flowering rain boots. Can you tell I'm tired tonight? The flowering rain boots class to go. All right, option 1 includes the bundle and supplies to make 8 cards, 2 each of 4 different designs. This is just one of them. And I also have the option to buy just the card supplies if you already own the bundle, or if you're a demonstrator and you plan to buy the bundle on your own. And then, of course, the third option is always the PDF tutorial only for $15. And you can actually purchase the PDF only at stampinpiece.com and click on PDF store in the red bar at the top. And you can purchase it there and then download it immediately. I currently have over 50 different PDF tutorials for sale on that site. So those are my things to show you and some reminders. Today, I'm going to make 2 cards with you. They're very, very similar, but we're going to turn the second one into a fun fold card. And we're just using stamps, ink, and paper tonight. No punches, no dies, no embossing folders, just stamps, ink, and paper, but you're going to love these 2 cards. You're going to love the results. And I'm going to see if you can guess what stamp set I'm using. It is from the mini catalog, and it's a single stamp set. There's no coordinating punch or dies to go with it. Let's see if you can guess. And if you think you know which one it is flowers, I'll tell you that. But we'll see if you can guess. And if you think you know the answer, go ahead and put that in the comments. And while I'm flipping my camera, would you also please share this live video? Alrighty, so let's get started. Let's see if there's any guesses. No guesses about what stamp set I'm using, what flower stamp set. Oh, people from West Virginia. Let's see what else. Marshfield, Wisconsin. Pennsylvania. I know we have Stella from Texas. We have some of my Ohio friends watching. Wonderful. No, Doris, it is not the daisies. It is the Wildflower Path. I don't know if any of you own it, but I have just played with it for the first time this week and I actually love it. And I'm going to give you some tips on how to use this and match up the different flowers with the stems. And we're going to make two beautiful cards. And notice the quote here, the Ralph Waldo Emerson quote. I'm sure you've heard this before. Do not go where the path may lead. Go instead where there is no path and leave a trail. Think of all the different occasions you might use this with. Graduation, a new job, promotion, perhaps somebody going through adoption, many, many things. And then, of course, my heart is smiling because of you. I'm sure you can think of lots of ways to use this. And I love that we have a happy birthday and a thank you because I use those two basic sentiments quite often. So here is the first card we're going to make. And it really is much easier than you might think just looking at this. So I've already got all of my pieces and parts cut. And we're going to work on the stamping part first, and then we will assemble the card. And for this, we are going to be stamping off, so you do need some scrap paper or grid paper to stamp with. And there's lots of stamps involved on this. I'm going to start with the grass. And then next I will stamp the two kinds of stems with leaves. And then last we'll add the flowers. And I'll give you a tip for matching up the blossoms with their stems when we get to that part. Because I know for some people they find that kind of tricky. My green today that I'm using is mint macaron. Okay, mint macaron. I'm just going to stamp this grass all the way across. Notice that the bottom of my stamp, the bottom of the image, is just below the bottom edge of the cardstock. That's because I want it to look like the grass is coming out of the cardstock rather than having that gap at the bottom, all right? Before I do the stems, I'm actually going to put my sentiment on next. And for this first one, I am going to use that Ralph Waldo Emerson quote, because I really like it. And I'm going to stamp the sentiment with Melon Mambo ink. And I'll look over the top of this. I'm going to pull it a little bit closer to me. It's a little bit of a hard angle. Trying to keep my head out of the camera view. All right, that looks pretty good. So again, I'm going to stamp with my mint macaron. There are two different stems in here. I'm actually stamping with this one, the more, what do I want to say? I want to say more full, but a little more solid, a little wider lines in it. And I'm actually just going to stamp this one time. And again, the bottom of the image, I want coming off the bottom of the paper. Number one, because I don't want the blossoms to go off the top. But I also don't want it to look like it's just out there floating along alone. And then I'm going to take this one and I'm going to stamp it 3 times. One to the right, one to the left, and you can vary the heights of these if you like. This one I'm going to put even a little bit lower, I think. just like that. And now I'm ready to add my blossoms. I'll move that to the other side. When I stamp the blossoms for this first one, for the big tall one, I'm going to move this so it's a little clearer for you to see. For that one, you're going to match up the bottom of those 4 flowers with kind of the top of those stems. And then I'm just going to lay this right on top. This kind of helps me to already have my stamp in a good direction, the way I need it to be when I'm ready to stamp the flowers. Now for this, I am first going to stamp off onto scrap paper, and then I'm going to stamp the flowers. So for this first step, you do want to stamp off. You want a little bit lighter shade for those flowers. And then make sure I have I think I pulled out the wrong one. Let me double check here. Yes, I did. And then this one is going to stamp right on top of it. And this is going to be like filling in some detail, putting on another layer of ink. Oh, Joan guessed daffodils. Nope. Although I did use those not too far back. And now isn't that pretty with the 2 tones of the Melon Mambo? And as you can see, when I laid this stamp on, now I actually, if I stamp any more, I have these already lined up. So this is going to help me when I am ready to stamp my second card. Now I'm going to use this one, and with this, I'm going to stamp the flowers in, what did I pull out? Mango Melody. Now this one is a little bit trickier. And there's 2 ways you can do it. You can lay it on top of the stamp or right here on the paper, which is what I prefer to do. And this is a little bit trickier because not every flower matches up with a little stem on there. You know what? I'm gonna stamp the stem on here just so you can see what I'm talking about a little bit better. So this is that whole stem. And this is actually the way it lines up. You line up the 2nd, the 3rd, and the 4th flowers, basically, with a little stem. Okay. And of course, it doesn't have to be perfect. If something's not touching a stem, it's okay, right? Because these are wildflowers, and wildflowers tend to do whatever they want. And in nature, everything's one of a kind. Okay, so you can see by me lining it up, I've got the 2nd, the 3rd, and 4th flowers on little stems, and the 1st and 3rd are just kind of hanging out there. Now, if I wanted, I could add some more flowers to it if I really wanted to make it look full. So you can play around with that if you like. And I'm going to have to move this because I'm going to end up with my arm in there. Pull my scrap paper back in. And I'm going to do that with each of these. And you can see the ones in the grass, it's a little bit harder to see I'm not going to get all worked up with that. I'm just going to do my best and kind of wing it, and it works out just fine. You see that? Okay. Yes, Doris, this is kind of one of those overlooked stamp sets. Oops, I lost you. One second. There we go. Yes, it's kind of an overlooked product in our mini catalog. I think because sometimes we tend to gravitate to the bigger sets that have dies and punches and fun things to go with them. But we can have just as much fun creating with single stamp sets. So I have pre-cut and scored a piece of mint macaron cardstock. So I started with 5.5 by 8.5, scored it 4 1/4. I have basic white to put on the inside. This measures 5 1/4 by 4 inches. I have a piece of designer series paper that also measures 5 1/4 by 4 inches for the front. This is from the hand-penned designer series paper from our annual catalog. Hand-penned designer series paper from the annual catalog. At this time next week, we as demonstrators will be able to see the PDF tutorial or PDF of, oops, I wasn't ready to put that on yet. The PDF of the new annual catalog, and then we will know which items from the current annual catalog are retiring. Now, before I add that to my card front, I'm going to go ahead and put my stamped cardstock onto the designer series paper. And I want it approximately 1/4 inch from the top and with about a 1 inch margin along the bottom. And the reason I did not want to put this on my card front just yet is because I wanted to wrap this piece of ribbon around those layers. So I'm just going to put the top edge of this ribbon basically just above that bottom edge of the cardstock, and then I'll adhere the ends to the back side. I don't like to put adhesive under my ribbons. Sometimes it just, I don't know, sometimes it just doesn't finish well, or if you're a little bit off on your ribbon and it's adhered down, you can't really fix it. So I prefer to do it this way, where I can just pull it across my layers and adhere the ends in the back. I think that looks pretty straight. Now, because of the thickness of this diamond weave ribbon, I'm actually going to pop this whole piece up on dimensionals. And because it's a large piece, I am going to be using more dimensionals than just the usual 1 in each corner, because I don't want any part of it sagging on my card. Again, this is designer series paper is from the hand-penned collection in our annual catalog. And I'll put this on the front. I'm going to add a little bit of embellishment, and I'm going to use these pretty brushed brass butterflies. Melinda, 70 degrees in West Virginia. Yes, it was that way here too. It was so beautiful out. I had so much work to do inside. But yeah, just absolutely gorgeous. I know we're supposed to get rain on the weekend, but you know what? I'll take that with these warmer temperatures. Pretty soon the grass here will be starting to get greener and our flowers will start to bloom. So what do you think? Pretty, right? And it's basically a pretty easy card, isn't it? Just stamps, ink, and paper, a little bit of embellishing with the ribbon and the butterflies. But it really is not too tricky lining up all these different stamped images. All right, let's make one more card. Oh, I forgot one thing. When I first cut my designer series paper, I cut it 4 by 6, and then I cut it to 5 1/4 inch height so that I could have this 3/4 inch piece to put on the inside of this card. And you could do it at the top or the bottom. You can make it meet all the way to the bottom of the white, whatever you want to do. But it just dresses up the inside a little bit. All right, now we're gonna do something, I'm trying to decide. You know what, I'm not gonna show you. We're just going to stamp and put it together. Instead of using a 4 by 4 square, like I did on the first card, I've cut a piece of cardstock 4 inches by 8 inches. I scored it at 4 inches in the center, and I'm going to be stamping on here the same as I did on that 4-inch square of the white cardstock, but we're going to end up making a fun fold with this. So I'm going to use the same, repeat the same steps to do the stamping. There's my grass. Again, I'm using mint macaron as my green. Oh, I'm going to stamp my sentiment. I am going to switch out my sentiment though and stamp this one. My heart is smiling because of you. And I'm going to stamp it in Melon Mambo in the upper right corner. So really this part is going to be, oops, wrong one. This part is going to be the same as the stamping on the other one, with the exception of the sentiment and maybe a little bit of the placement of the flowers. I'll actually add an extra stem on this one because I have more space to fill in here. So I'm gonna go like this, and then I'll do this. And you can see I can vary the heights of those. Now I will stamp the Melon Mambo flowers. Remember, on the first step, I'm going to stamp off onto my scrap paper and then onto the cardstock so that I get that lighter shade down first. And then I will add the Melon Mambo ink at full strength with the second part of that. Nice. It's a fun way to get some depth, some dimension with the different tones in there. Now I'll stamp my, get this out of the way, finished with those. So now I'll stamp the Mango Melody flowers on there. And again, this one's a little bit trickier, but I've already set up my stamp the first time around. So I know it's pretty close to just going right over the stem. Okay, so let's put this card together now. Since I already have a folded portion, which will be the card base itself, I've just cut some mint macaron cardstock to be 5.5 by 4.25 inches. So the finished card will be the same 8-2 size card as this one. And then I've cut a piece of cardstock. It started out as a 4 by 6 and I cut it to 4 by 5.25. And I mount this to that mint macaron cardstock. I'm going to add this card base now, basically in the same position as my first card. So about 1/4 inch from the top and about 1 inch from the bottom. I'm gonna put a little extra at the top here since people will be opening and closing it there. Now I have this piece to play with. I can put it down at the bottom there. I could put it at the top. And because it's a 4-inch square we're working with, I could go that way if I wanted, but I don't want to. So I'm going to go ahead and put this at the top this time. I'm just going to leave a little bit of spacing of the white there. And you can see I still have plenty of room to write a message here. And what I did not use on here was the ribbon. And I'm going to show you my sample. So I did something different here. I put that 3/4 inch strip near the bottom. I did leave a little bit of white showing, and then I just went over the top with the ribbon, and I could just cut off the ends instead of flipping them under. On this one though, I think I'm going to do something a little bit different. Instead of using that ribbon, I'm going to use some of my white baker's twine, and really you could use any twine, any color, any narrow ribbon. You could use our crinkled seam binding and color that with Stampin' blends if you wanted to, a colored ribbon. Lots of different choices, but I'm going to do this one, and I'm going to make a double bow. Thank you all for watching, and for those who have shared, I appreciate that. I'll add this with a mini glue dot. The easiest way to add your bows. I'll put it right there. And then I think this one also needs some butterflies. So on my team Facebook group, the Mary's Merry Stampers Facebook group, our current showcase, creative showcase, which ends tomorrow, that's just a platform where we share our ideas. I give out a theme, and then the team members make something and take a photo and post it there. And then they have the opportunity to win a Stampin' Up! Prize from me. So, but the theme is, and I'll just admit, I have not always been good in the past about participating myself. I get busy with my own business and I kind of forget to do that. So I'm making a very conscious effort to do that. And the last one I did with the daffodils, that I made for a challenge. We were casing the catalog. I made it. I decided I'll use it for a Facebook Live, and then I forgot to post it for them. So I cannot forget this because tomorrow is the last day. But the current theme for this creative showcase is spring fun fold card. So this will work perfectly for that. So I'm excited to take a picture of that and to post it to my team's Facebook group. All right, what do you think? A really nice stamp set. We just use stamp ink and paper, a little bit of embellishing to dress up the final cards, but kept it simple, right? It's simple layout, simple design, and we made two very similar but different, beautiful cards. What do you think? Very pretty and spring-like, and I know I keep showing projects with flowers, and it's not, I didn't plan like, oh, Mary, you can only do flowers in the month of March. It's just spring is on my brain, I guess, and that's what I keep pulling out. So I hope you like flowers as much as I do. All right, who would like to win one of these cards? I will give both of these away. And what I would like you to do is type in the comments now, Wildflower Path. Wildflower Path. It's a great stamp set. And by typing it in there, this will help you remember if you want to add this to your shopping list. Wildflower Path. Okay. And before I say goodbye, as I mentioned, next Wednesday, demonstrators get to see the PDF of our new annual catalog. And then we get to pre-order in the month of April. And then customers get to get their hands on that catalog and shop from it at the beginning of May. So next Wednesday, we will also know what items are retiring. So look for a retiring list then. Because if things are on that list, most of them are while supplies last only. I will tell you right now, and I'm going to pull out the colors as I say them. If you want any of these in colors, you should get them soon, as in as soon as possible. Magenta Madness, Bumblebee, what else is in there? Just Jade is another one. Misty Moonlight and Cinnamon Cider. I'm going to miss these. I use all of these a lot. So these are the retiring in colors. I will let you know if you don't know this already. Anything with these colors, ribbons, embellishments, cardstock, ink, Stampin' blends, markers, whatever it is, those will all be retiring. And typically, I don't know, I don't have a crystal ball and I don't have any more information than any other demonstrator, but typically the in-color products have not been discounted when they are being retired. And many of them do sell out very quickly. Ink pads and re-inkers definitely typically sell out very quickly. The cardstock, I would say next. So if you want these, get them because they will be available while supplies last only, as would be many of, or I'll say many of the retiring products. Stamp sets, they usually give us a few weeks that they guarantee. As long as people order them within those few weeks, they will guarantee those. But the other products are available while supplies last. So I just want to give you, no pressure, but I just want to give you a heads up. If you like these colors and you want to stock up, or you've been thinking about getting them and you haven't, now is the time before they're gone, okay? The other thing I want to bring to your attention at this point is And I'm sure this was a very hard decision for Stampin' Up, but as of April 1st, our shipping prices are going up. Our minimum shipping is currently $6.95. It is going up $1 to $7.95. And then standard shipping beyond that is typically 10%. It's going up to 11%. So you figure on a $100 purchase, that's an increase of $1 on the shipping. I can tell you for certain that Stampin' Up subsidizes some of the shipping costs. They absorb some of the shipping costs. It costs them more to ship products to you and me than what they charge us in shipping. And I'm not surprised that this has come at this time, just because of everything that's happening in the world. But also, this is my first time. I've been a demonstrator for 13 and a half years. This is the first time I know of that they had an increase in shipping costs. So I think they do a good job of trying to keep their costs low and doing what they can to help you and I in that way. Please know that Stampin' Up! Is committed to high quality and good service, and I intend to keep on doing what I'm doing and helping you get the best value for your purchases and showing you lots of ways to use those different products. Because we all know the more ways we know how to use something, the more we're going to use what we've purchased. But that change in shipping occurs on April 1st. Okay. Alrighty, I hope you have commented Wildflower Path. I will be choosing 2 winners, and those winners will each receive one of these cards. Be sure to go to stampinpiece.com today to get a photo, I'll call it a photo step-by-step tutorial of how to make one of these. And of course, this part is what the directions are about. And you will know what to do just following those photographs I have on stampinpiece.com. And then the rest, you just size to whatever frame you're using. You wouldn't even necessarily need to put it in a frame. You might do this on a scrapbook page or a card or something that you're giving to somebody tomorrow. But just a quick, fun little decoration I made up today with for one of my dollar store crafts. All right, everybody, you have a good evening, and I look forward to sharing another project with you on Friday at 2 p.m. I have no idea what that's going to be, but I'll make sure it's something wonderful as always. Have a good night, and I'll see you soon. Happy stamping.